Welcome back. My name's Troy. I'm with DIY Home and Auto. We've made some really good progress on Midnight Maroon. I'll leave a link up here somewhere for the playlist for that. That's a 1979 Ford F250. Today's video, we are actually getting started in earnest on Wallace the 66. Wallace the 66. Before I get started, it's cold outside. It's early February 2022. The goal is to have Midnight Maroon up and running. Midnight Maroon will be up and running by spring for sure. The goal is to also have Wallace the 66 running by spring as well, so that me and my son can go to different events and spend the summer basically enjoying the fruits of our labors and all the hard work that we've put into these particular builds. Before I cover up with a sweatshirt and head outside, I wanted to show you my new shirt design. There will be links down below to my t-shirt store so that you can go check those out. All of the money that's earned from that goes right back into these builds. All of that money will help me get this truck back on the road where it belongs. So without further ado, let's get started on Wallace the 66. The things that I want to accomplish in this first video are to ensure that the engine has its best chance of running. So I'm going to pull all the spark plugs and use some AIM Penetrating Lubricant. Airplane never fails. Down inside of each of the cylinders to hopefully lubricate those rings, break them free. I did in a previous video use the fan and the fan belt to essentially ensure that it's not completely seized up. It's been sitting long enough that I'm concerned that the rings will be frozen. I just don't want to do any undue damage. I want to try to do this as minimalist as possible and least invasive. I don't want to have to completely disassemble and try to figure out what's going on internally with the engine. Confident we can get it running. I've just got to go through some of these preliminaries to make sure that everything will move like it's supposed to. So we're going to do this. We're going to drain the oil. I'll loosely put the spark plugs back in as well and just let the AIM soak in there and do its thing. This is going to be a several day process for this particular video, but I need to take advantage of my time and do all of some of these little things along the way so that we can get the project done by spring. So let's do this. Let's yank some spark plug and we'll go from there. Oh, that thing wasn't even on there very good. There's a huge dirt dauber right there. Two of them. In fact, that's great. Let's take one. Real good. Oh, I've got to get that dirt dauber out of there before we go very far. are all looking really good, nice and sooty. Just what you want to see. so good. That one was definitely not firing. No soot on that one at all. Oh boy. There's something. Ah, that was my elbow. Oh, dang it. Ah, never fails. You gotta do that once. Get that out of the way early. Oh, dang. Oh my gosh. Whew, sweating, and it's cold outside. Dang it. It's gonna be a bleeder. That one's nice and sooty. So, cylinder number 3 could possibly have some issues. Keep these in the same order. See if we can shoot some down the hole. Gotta get the pistol grip working first. There's probably an easier way to get a bunch in there, but while I'm here, I'm just going to kind of soak everything that I know I'm going to end up taking apart. I do want to pull that carburetor and clean it. Not before I try to start it though. Definitely going to try to get it rolling first before that. I am eventually taking the master cylinder off. I got a new master cylinder. So before I drive it, I'm going to do brakes top to bottom, master cylinder all the way back. So I'm just going to soak all of that real good as well. This stuff will soak into all these things and just help us protect it from rusting any farther, first of all, and make it easier to take things apart when we need to. Yeah, so I just pretty much soaked everything back there. Master cylinder related, the cable, hose, the brake hose that comes out of there. Soaked that real good. Obviously, I squirted some stuff down in the cylinders. I soaked all of the mechanisms that move on the carburetor, because all of that stuff's got to be moving at some point. So let's get that stuff moving. Sprayed more on the other side. Let's turn this fan belt and see if the engine will turn with ease. Let's try that next. Alright, let's see what happens here. Oh yeah, that engine turns so easy. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, it's not making any noise or anything. I'm not going to count my eggs before they hatch, but this might be easier than I thought to get this thing running. It ran when it parked. That's the story everybody tells. Wouldn't it be awesome if this thing just fired right up and ran? Wouldn't that be awesome? Well, I'm out of time on day one. I'm going to put the spark plugs back in just so we don't get moisture down in the cylinders. Engine spins relatively easily with no compression. That tells me that there is good compression when I was having a struggle to spin that with the plugs in. That is great news. Everything feels good as it spins. Let's get spark plugs back in, and then I'll see you guys when I get back out here and work on this again. good enough for Derek at Vice Grip Garage. Who might argue? Let's lube up the gasket. Can't fill this one up because it goes in completely sideways, so that's not going to work. There we go. Well, only the black's showing. That's kind of cool. One more shiny part under the hood. How lucky is that? Alright, let's see. Cool beans. We're going to be one step closer to hooking up a battery and turning the key, see what happens. I have no idea. Yeah, right in the middle. One more quart would top it right off, but we're going to leave it like that for now because we're going to run it for a little while and then we're just going to drain the oil again. Anyways, that's a true story. That's what's going to happen. There we go. That is the negative cable. That's hilarious. It's red. It's bright red. In fact, I didn't bring just a regular old screwdriver out. Get off of there. That's hilarious. Yeah, let's always use a red cable as your ground. Oh boy, I'm glad I noticed that before I did something stupid. Alright. That's awesome. Let's get rid of that custom hold down. Oh man, that is industrial strength. Baling wire. This one has a go handle. That cable's got nasty corrosion. Do I dare just kind of go with it and see what happens? Don't really want to have to redo things 5 times, but I kind of want to see if it'll run the way it was parked, you know? Hooking up the battery for the first time. I've got the positive lead on, even though the negative is a red cable. So I'm going to be swapping that out for a black one, guaranteed, just to eliminate any confusion. But I'm going to hook this up and look for smoke. We're doing a smoke check. Off camera, I took all of the spark plugs out again, and I disconnected the fuel inlet to the carburetor. So that's loose, so that if I can get the engine to turn over, it's not sending crappy fuel and chunks and whatever else right into the carburetor. So we want to completely avoid that. Here we go. Do this and check for smoke. Okay, so far so good. Nothing here. What's happening in the cab? Alright, again, so far so good. Let's see if this bad boy turns over. I have no idea what to expect. What's happening? What's happening? So I gave the starter a couple little love taps with the old hammer. See if I can loosen that up. I also cycled the engine just a little bit in case the flywheel's like missing some teeth or something weird like that. So made 2 changes. Let's try the starter one more time. That did not go as planned. I'm going to pull the starter and test it outside of the truck. So after testing the starter tested fine. So I assumed that I had just bad connections. These things were all corroded real bad. Quick trip to the O'Reilly's. Picked up a new solenoid, cleaned up all of the terminals that connect to that, got that all good and connected. Good solid connection from positive down to that. I'm gonna try it again because I've got good ground there. I've got a good Positive lead going down to the starter. I'm pointing down in there. You guys can't see diddly because the sun's at the wrong angle. But I'm going to set you guys up on the tripod again and try cranking this thing over one more time. See if this makes any difference. I'm hoping maybe you'll see all of that AIM that I squirted down in the cylinders just come squirting out as this thing goes. So hoping for something spectacular. Okay, so that was pretty awesome. It turns over. Let's get the spark plugs put back in. The air cleaner opened up so that we can get some fuel down Wallace's throat here. Let me get to that point and then we'll just crank on this thing and see if we can get it to bark off. Maybe it'll just start spitting. I don't know. Nice. I'm excited. This is really cool. Love this part of the process. And here goes the very first attempt to start it. Spark plugs are in. Took the air cleaner off, threw some juice down her. We'll see if this thing barks off. Let's try this. A little more and then choke it. The choke's not working from inside the cab, at least not very well. Don't think we're getting fuel through the carburetor. Probably gonna have to pull that thing off and do a clean on it. Well, before I rip into the carburetor, I'm gonna check the distributor points. Let's make sure we're getting spark. So I cleaned all of the contacts inside the distributor cap, made sure my connection was good, cleaned the points, did a little click snappy thing. Some corrosion stuff came off of them, and I'm now getting that distinct click when I flick it. So, and I can actually see a little smoke rise from it, so I know I'm getting spark there. I'm just going to crank it again and see what I get. Make sure it's choked. Let's try it again. He's gonna run. He's gonna run so good. Just gotta figure out getting fuel to the carburetor. That's gonna be the next thing. That's probably gonna have to wait till tomorrow. I'm out of time again today. Valentine's is coming up, taking my wife to dinner, so gotta keep Mama happy. This will wait for tomorrow. So now that I know that Wallace the 66 will actually run, spark, heard it bark off a little bit, I'm not going to go crazy with just sitting there cranking it just to see smoke come out the tailpipe, right? So now that I know that the engine turns and I'm basically dealing with a healthy engine, it's time to put a little focus on kind of tuning it up and just making sure that it has its best chance to run. So I yanked the carburetor. I ran down to the O'Reilly's and picked up a rebuild kit for it. I'm hoping that's the right one. Grabbed me a whole bunch of carb cleaner, and also a quick note, I've never rebuilt a carburetor in my life. Basically just going to put you guys on a time lapse and we'll get this thing back in Wallace. For now, rebuilding a carburetor. Alright, carburetor's rebuilt and putting it back in now. Got all of the gaskets in place to put the nuts back on, tighten them down. I want to fill the bowl, I should say. Fire this sucker up. See if we can get it to idle. Still don't have a fuel source hooked up at this point. Alright, finally got the vacuum advance hooked up. For some reason I had to file off the end of the tube that pokes through the fitting. I don't know if the fitting slipped out a little bit or whatever, but anyway, I just filed off a little bit of the end. And then I was able to get that to seat and grab. I think I'm ready to fill the bowl and then test this out. So I was able to get the bowl full. I am missing this piece up here that seals the bowl off. So I got to figure out something for that. That piece basically broke off right there. You could see corrosion through it. I barely bumped it when I was taking this thing apart and it just split right in half. So I'm probably just going to seal that with tape or something at this point. I filled the bowl through that hole. I couldn't get down through there to get that full. So the bowl's full the way it sits. I'm going to tape that off just so that I can hit the go button and see if we can get this thing to run under its own power and maybe even idle for a second. How would that be? Let's do it. I did finally get me a under the hood start switch. Ignition's on, bowl's full, taped off the hole. Let's give it a bump and see what happens. Idling. Just like that. Day 2 of really trying to get this thing going. Pretty much just idled right out of the gate. I gave it a little bit of juice there just to kind of make sure that the accelerator pump and whatnot is accelerating. I think we got us a runner, and I think if I finish the tune-up, you know, new cap, rotor, plugs, plug wires, things like that. There's a mosquito already in the middle of February. Are you kidding me right now? It's February 12th, 2022. This truck, as far as I know, well, I don't know. I think they used it on the farm a little bit after it parked, or after the tags expired on it. So I think they did kind of move it from place to place and use it a little bit on the farm. But for the most part, this thing's been parked for the better part of 20 some odd years. That is awesome. In the next video, figure out a fuel supply. I'm probably going to use the tank behind the seat, just because that one's there. It might have some corrosion in it. I'm going to take it out and clean it, make sure everything's all out of it. Fuel lines top to bottom, new fuel filter, may even throw a new pump in it. We'll look at our budget and see where we're at on that. Freaking awesome. Thing fired up. Idled. Holy crap. That is freaking cool. That's cool. This here is the carnage from the Will It Run portion of this. New solenoid. I've still got to figure out a battery tie down. A couple of gaskets. I mean, the rest of the gaskets are in the garage. Battery cables and whatnot for grounding. But Wallace is a runner. Run, Wallace, run.